Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the game Adventure. Some of my favorite memories as a kid are playing through games with my best friend on the couch, where he'd give me tips and tricks as I went through. So that's kind of what I'm going to do for you today as we play through the 1985 Nintendo Entertainment System classic, the Super Mario Brothers. Let's dig in and get started. All right, so you'll notice Mario's super tiny at the very start. That won't last very long. Right around here, you find a mushroom, which is your first power-up. Mushrooms make you the next size bigger. They also give you the ability to break some types of blocks. And you can take one hit from an enemy, and you just get smaller instead of losing a life. So that's super handy. Go down. Press down to go some of these pipes. I would check just about every one until you figure out which ones are hiding stuff like these. And then look out for Goombas like this that are two in a row, because they can be tricky sometimes. You can hit one and then get hit by the next one if you're not careful. And then run off the top, hit the flagpole, and you're done with your very first level. Depending on how quick you finish the level, you'll get points for extra time that you have left over. And then we're going to head into our first underground world. You'll notice the music changes. Mario music is the best, in my opinion, when it comes to this 8-bit style of music. I listened to an interview once with the guy who wrote the music for Super Mario Brothers, and he was talking about how much of a limitation there was on what he could actually do, and actually that helped him to be creative, because he only had so much space, so many notes, so many sounds to work with, and so he wrote what he could, and this music is what resulted. There's your first look at a turtle, I believe. Turtles, you notice you don't actually destroy them like the Goombas when you jump on them. You just turn them into a shell, and then you can knock that shell into other enemies. Do be careful also which blocks you take out, because sometimes you can knock out a block that is the only way to get to another block above. Nice, there's 3 in a row. Notice you get more points for every enemy in a row that you stomp on, or that you hit later with like the Invincibility Star. The Fire Flower is the next type of power-up. It does give you these fireball throwing abilities, which is pretty fantastic. However, if you were to bump into an enemy as this Mario, Fire Mario, you actually go all the way back down to Tiny Mario. So it's not like it gives you another layer of protection from enemies. It just lets you shoot fire. Notice the music changes. We're back in the overworld. One more flagpole and we finished the next level. Give yourself a round of applause. Level 1-3 is back in the overworld. Notice you've got some crazy jumps to take care of here. You'll notice that turtle was a red turtle. There is a difference. The green turtles, I guess, are stupid turtles, and they just kind of run off the edge of the platform. But red turtles will turn around. So that's helpful, because you can wait longer before jumping on them. It can also be kind of dangerous, because you think that they're coming down, and then they turn around, and you hit them, and bad news bears. Here we got a flying red turtle. You can actually jump off of those. Watch out for these platforms as they move forward. Grab some extra coins. You can get on this top platform. It's actually makes it a little easier to get up top. And there's the flag for World 1-3. You notice how short these levels are. They don't take a crazy long time. You can beat the game in under an hour, but they're short and sweet, and I think just about the right length, actually. So this one is the first kind of boss level, where you'll see Bowser at the end. There, let's see, I got hit by the fire. Timing is everything with a level like this. And just to note, that fire, the lava down below, if you hit that stuff, it actually kills you right away. You don't get a second chance by becoming Tiny Mario. You're done for. There you saw the first sign that Bowser is ahead. You can crouch under those or jump over. And you also have your choice of going over or under Bowser. And congratulations, you've beat Bowser. Toad says, thank you, Mario, but our princess is in another castle, which is the repeatable thing that'll happen over and over again through every world. I'll try to point some things out as we go through the rest of these, but we'll probably speed up some of this gameplay. Here's a good example of turtles together. Because they're in a tight little space there, if you hit one of them, you will knock them back and forth, and it actually makes it really hard to hit blocks, so you gotta kind of be careful. Sometimes if you hit a turtle, you just want to leave it be there for a minute before bumping into it again. Nice. That power-up that was back there was a 1-up mushroom, so you'll notice it gave me an extra life. That can be super helpful. And here's another type of power-up, which is the Invincibility Star. It lets you hit any enemy and destroy them. However, it is limited in time, so listen for the music start to change. There it is. And that's the end. So that music is actually the cue that you'll need to know when your Invincibility Star is about to be out of juice and you're back to just being plain old Fire Mario. I like to go for those power-ups because they give me extra points. So if you're trying to get a high score, that's a handy kind of thing to have. Some annoying flying turtles here trying to take you down. Watch out for that back bounce. I think that's where Fire Mario comes in handy, because you can take those shells out once you start them a-bouncing. Otherwise, you gotta watch out what you're doing and time everything just right. I'm terrible at hitting those. Clearly did not get to the top of the flagpole on that one, but that's okay. You can also get extra points at the end there if you hit the flagpole when there's either a 1, a 3, or a 6, and those fireworks give you extra points as well. So if you want to try to time things just right at the end, you can do that for some extra points. Here's your first underwater level. Look out for those squids. They'll come after you. They do only really move on a diagonal, however, either falling or rising, so you kind of just got to keep that in mind when you're trying to avoid them. You'll also run into these little fishy guys. They're not too bad if you've got fire. Yes, you can jump out of the water. Usually it's just not as easy to miss these guys if you're up around where they are, so kind of try to avoid them. Or if you're looking to really gain up some points, use your firepower. Watch out in these areas where it like drops out into blue below, because you have to really swim hard to get up above those, which can be tricky if you're trying to avoid a squid or a fish. Notice also the music has changed again. You've got a totally different soundtrack for the underwater levels. That'll be the same for every underwater level through the game. Back to the overworld theme. Off the top we jump. See if I can time this right. There we go. Let's see if I got fireworks. 1, 2, 3. Very nice. Alright, so World 2-3 is really just about looking out for these silly little fishes that are trying to take you down. If they come up underneath you, you're actually okay, because it's just like you're jumping on their heads. You can knock them out, just like a Goomba. However, if they fall on you, you are out of luck. I found that sometimes the best strategy in a level like this, especially if you're Fire Mario, you can take a hit without too much trouble, is just to run through as quick as you can, but you can always backtrack and miss those guys as they try to fall on you. Alright, the next boss level, you'll notice the layout is a bit different. But the goal is not too very different. Oh man. that's going to make this a little more challenging. In this game in particular, the points don't matter quite as much as some other Mario games, but nice. The coins actually do. So the reason you want to keep going for coins is every time you get 100 coins, you get 1 extra life, which can come in really handy, especially as you get towards the later levels in the game, and there's more chances to mess up. So most people have probably played through Super Mario Brothers, or at least seen a little bit of it. It was actually an arcade game first called Mario Brothers. It came out in 1983, and then was eventually released in 1985 for the Famicom system in Japan. And then a little later that year, it released in the United States with the Nintendo Entertainment System. So, actually, this was one of the launch titles for that system, which is partially why I think they sold so many copies, because it was a launch title. Those Hammer Bros are the worst. Whenever you get the Invincibility Star, you can rack up some points really, really quick by running through a lot of enemies. Sometimes it's best to skip some other opportunities, just run as fast as you can through the level. Do watch out, though, especially for enemies coming downstairs. They get me more often than not. Sometimes it's even better to just wait until they get to the bottom of the stairs before you go forward. Gotta watch out for that bounce back. Here's a good example of why you should be careful with turtles. They'll mess you up, man. Oh man, I didn't listen to the music quite carefully enough there and definitely paid for it. And did a horrible job jumping for the flag. Alright, so that's the end of World 3-2. Let's kind of speed through a couple more of these levels, and I'll try to point out some handy, helpful things as we go. So here's the first time that we actually see these platforms that are hanging on a string. You do kind of have to watch out for those if you're going to use them, because they act like a balance. So you'll slide down on one and the other one goes up. But if you push the one down too far, the platform actually falls off the other end of the string. So you have to judge exactly how long you want to stay on each one. If I'd used those a little better, I could have actually gotten to the top of the pole, but oh well. Alright, in this boss level, this is a great example of where timing is everything. Take your time to get through each one of these. Don't get hit by the fire. Try to grab a few of those coins if you can. Don't forget, you can duck underneath those things. Sometimes jumping will really throw you off. And then watch out for these fireballs that are flying out of the pits. They'll get you. Here comes Bowser. You can either try to jump to the top platform or wait for him to jump and then run right underneath him. I chose the latter. And that is the end of World 3. And of course, our princess is in another castle. So there are 8 worlds in this Mario game, and so we're going to kind of speed through a couple of them here for the sake of time, and I'll try to point some handy things out to you as we go. This guy, for example, is always tossing these little spiny shells out. You can try to take him down. That can be kind of difficult, but it is possible. Let's see if I can do it here. There we go. It does make the rest of the level easier. He'll show up a little later on, but it's helpful to take him out early if you see an opportunity to do that. Clearly, my jumping needs a little work. Here's the next one. He will probably come to us, but I'm just going to kind of move on. You'll notice that jumping in this Mario game feels a little different from maybe some of the newer ones that you may have played. It's just something that you kind of have to get used to. The longer you hold down the A button, the longer you will continue to kind of drift up, so it can make the jumping, I think, feel a little sluggish compared to some. But if you grew up with it, you probably don't have anything to complain about at all. And I got myself into a pickle here. Sometimes the right way to finish a level is by running as fast as you can through it, especially when you're tiny Mario and there's no power-ups in sight. Those coin blocks that I just jumped on are all about how many times you can hit the block in the given amount of time. So once you hit it the first time, a timer starts, and you got to hit it as many times in that time as you possibly can. You'll notice in this part of the game that quarters are actually pretty tight. There's not a lot of space, which can make jumping on groups of Goombas a little more difficult than it sometimes is. You can fix that by trying to knock out some blocks before they get to you, or just moving very carefully as you jump on them. So you'll notice I ran on top of those blocks. You can actually skip a whole bunch of the level, and you can actually skip on to the next world if you want by running across those blocks at the right spot. I chose not to do that because I want to show some of the game off, but if you actually continue jumping right here, if we would have jumped over that gap where these platforms are falling and continued to run across the top, we would have skipped all of these guys down here, including that piranha, and gone past the tube and had a warp pipe on the other end, which takes you, I believe, to World 5. So there are opportunities to skip whole worlds if you're just trying to get the game finished in a record amount of time. That's not what I was trying to do. Alright, so this dungeon is a little different from some of the other ones. You actually have to go across the top in order to move on. Otherwise, you'll continue to run through the same section. There's another one that does the same thing. Here's on to the next section. You'll notice that I go across the top here and then to the middle. And then I get tiny because I'm bad at Mario. And then, this looks familiar, almost like I've been here before, because you have. So don't go too far like I did, and drop down to the bottom first. And that will actually take you to the end of the stage. Nice. So at the beginning of World 5, you'll see this Koopa Troopa hanging out here, otherwise known as a green turtle. If you grab him and push him, you can rack up a whole lot of points quickly. Just watch out for that pipe, or he'll bounce right back and get you. Same deal here. You can hit a whole bunch of enemies at once. If you run, if I'd been a little quicker, I might have hit that second Koopa Troopa. That That was almost disaster. Okay, here you see your first bullet bill, which are these bullets that shoot out of the thing. They'll continue to shoot out throughout the levels, so kind of watch out for them. You can either hang out underneath them if you're small enough, like me. Otherwise, you can crouch underneath them if I was a little bigger. And we have another world off to a grand start, and again, me missing the flag. So this guy right here is called a hammer bro because he chucks little hammers at you, and he's particularly difficult, to me anyway, because you have to not only watch out for the hammers, but also watch out for him landing on you, or even lifting a hammer up at the same time as you jump on him. They often travel in twos. Since I'm tiny, I'm not even going to mess around with trying to take that one out. Here's a good example of a classic hammer bro setup where they're both hanging out, trying to kill you with hammers. You know something's got to be hidden here, right? Let's see how far I can get with the star. Alright, the boss level in 5-4 is another great example of timing being everything and also taking things in the right order. So you do have to start at the bottom here, or you won't move on. And you're watching out for multiple sources of fire here, clearly not very well. Pick up a couple extra coins and move on. My favorite experiences playing Mario are the times when you survive and can't believe that you survived. So sometimes it's actually fun to not be too disheartened like that. Because it creates those moments where you're thinking, I can't believe that I made it. So here I'm super close to getting 100 coins. You hear that sound means I've actually racked up another life for myself. Any place that you can do the extra work to get coins in the beginning, you'll thank yourself later when you need those extra lives later on in the game. There's not many feelings worse than getting all the way to the later levels in Mario and then running out of lives and having to start all the way back at level 1-1. I guess on the plus side, you get really good at those first couple of worlds. I'm actually not sure how to get all of the coins in this underground area. If you know actually how to get into that little area up there and get all those coins, drop me a comment or something. I haven't been able to figure it out. So these little black ball-looking things are actually called a buzzy beetle. I had to look that up because I've never been able to tell exactly what they are. But they act pretty much the same as Koopa Troopas, where they bounce around in their shell after you hit them. The squid guys are actually called Bloopers. That's their official name. And then these little fish are called the Cheep Cheeps. I don't know where they came up with the name for these, actually, but they are way more fun than calling them fishes, so... Alright, so here we actually see, unless I missed some earlier, our first dropping platforms. You can let them drop far enough to get coins. Just be careful you don't drop too far or you're in trouble. Alright, so I wish I wouldn't have done that, but oh well. We're coming up on Bowser. There's one difference with this Bowser. He's actually going to chuck hammers just like the Hammer Bros do. However, you might be able to get lucky like that and just kind of run underneath him. Skip all of his attacks entirely. All right, World 7-3, I'm gonna be honest with you, I run like the wind through. I hate it so much. There are so many Cheep Cheeps and so many Koopa Troopas that, oh man, it's just difficult. So sometimes I just cross my fingers and run like the wind. Try to get power-ups where you can and hope for the best. Fortunately, it's not very long, so if you can make your way through it quickly, you'll be all right. This is another example of a level where you have to do things in a certain order. Go bottom, middle, and then top, and that takes you into the next section. For the next section, it doesn't really matter so much what you do in the middle, it just matters where you end, so you actually want to end on that top area up on top. So make sure you jump up there and don't run through the easy way. That actually brings you to the next section of the level. One thing to note when you're running towards the end here, even if you get hit by something, if you're close enough to the end, run like the wind all the way to the end, because you are kind of invincible for a second while you're shrinking back down to the small size. Welcome to World 8. This is the last world in the game, and you're going to definitely notice that things are a little more difficult. They're going to be sending you more difficult enemies. There are lots of gaps like that that you can easily fall through. Fortunately, you can actually run across them and not fall in. That does not work in real life, in case you were wondering. Hidden here is a star, which is a perfect opportunity to run through a whole lot of the level. Just watch out for gaps. Now you'll hear the music change here. That actually means that we're running out of time. Anytime the timer hits below 100, the music starts to speed up to let you know that you're going to run out of time eventually. That's a big gap. Mind the jump. But when you start to hear that music played, you do still have a decent amount of time, so don't feel like you have to go crazy fast, but do pick up the pace a bit. Near the beginning of this level, you will find a 1-up mushroom that you can race to the end to try to catch it before it falls. Just keep in mind that if you die in the process, it kind of defeats the purpose, so be careful as you go. This is another one of those levels that it doesn't necessarily make sense to hang out for very long, because there's so many bullet bills that you'll get in trouble if you stay in one place for too long. All right, here's one of the trickier jumps in the game, honestly. You're going to want to run a little bit and try to hit one of those two platforms and then jump off of it right away. Otherwise, you won't have enough momentum to get across the gap. Here's another one of those sections that I don't know how to get those coins. Please, somebody tell me how to get those coins. Again, you see a big gap here. You're going to want to jump right off the top or jump over it entirely. Watch out for that Koopa Troopa coming down the stairs. And you made it. Good job. I would say this upcoming section is probably one of the harder ones in the game for me. Try to save this turtle and then hit him forward, because if you can take out one of those hammer bros, it leaves you only one to deal with. But man, if you have to deal with both, that's pretty tricky to get through, for me anyway. I'm going to skip that guy entirely. And then you've got another set right after. See that little hidden block there? If I hadn't left those hammer bros where they were, I could have got some coins out of that. But at this point, I'm ready for the last level in the game. So, let's do it. I'm not going in this with a whole lot of confidence, considering I'm Tiny Mario, but we'll give it a shot. There's a couple of sections in this level in the game. It's definitely the longest in the game, and you have to go down a certain pipe in order to move on. So there's that pipe that you have to use to move on to the next section. You can see that things are looking like they're repeating, but we're actually in the new section now. You'll know you picked the wrong warp pipe if you go back to a section that you've already been in. I actually want to get to that top warp pipe, because that's what leads to the next one, so we'll hit that hidden block. We've got random flying Cheep Cheeps. How they're flying out of the lava, I don't know, but you can tell that they're taking out all the stops here, making it pretty difficult. You've got fire underwater. I don't know what they were thinking with this level design, but it's certainly difficult, so I'll give them that. That was pure luck that I took that guy out. All right, now here's going to be another lucky win or loss. Oh, man. And there you have it. Super Mario Brothers, all the way from 1985. Still pretty enjoyable, I feel like. You can actually go back and play the whole thing again if you want to, but I'm going to call it a day with this. Thanks for playing with us, and I look forward to playing through another game with you soon.